You've tuned into another edition of The Break Room, a weekly conversation about how the City of St. Augustine works from those who do the work every day. Hosted by the City of St. Augustine's Communications Director, Melissa Whistle, The Break Room offers a closer look at the different city departments and provides updates on current and upcoming projects and events. And now for your host of The Break Room, Melissa Whistle.
Welcome to The Break Room. Thanks for joining us. The Break Room is a place for us to get together for just a few minutes and take a break from our daily work to catch up with coworkers and hear about what's happening in and around the city. I'm Melissa Whistle, Director of Communications for the City of St. Augustine. It's been a rough year for everyone, to say the least, with coronavirus. Since the spring, we've canceled festivals and parades. Our high school seniors have missed out on traditional graduation ceremonies. Sporting events were canceled. Restaurants and businesses have struggled. And we could not go to concerts. But that is about to change. This week in studio, we are very excited to have the general manager of the St. Augustine Amphitheater and Ponte Vedra Concert Hall, Gabe Pellicer. Gabe, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
I'm thrilled to know that concerts are coming back. With all the cancellations and restrictions this year, the AMP and the concert hall certainly felt the impacts of the pandemic. We had so many great performances lined up that were going to come in. We had to go virtual with Sing Out Loud. Mm-hmm. And you tell me about what it was like for you guys.
Wow. In the beginning, I mean, it kind of just stopped all at once. I think our last concert at the Amphitheater was John Fogerty, which was in February, and around early March. I mean, you guys were dealing with the same thing. I mean, we had the Celtic Festival. It was really busy. It's the start of our season. And
yeah, it's the big kickoff.
Yeah, and it got to the point that we were starting to get some hearsay that it was looking like we were going to have to pause and reschedule some shows. And for me, I got the word. I was loading in the weight in Ponte Vedra, and we didn't even get to do that show. It was just cut at one day that night, and it was...
Did you think to yourself, well, surely they're not going to cancel concerts? I know that for me, that was a big thought that went, well, what do you mean you're going to cancel concerts? Why would you cancel concerts?
Well, it's interesting because our industry is worldwide. Mm-hmm. And so you start getting information. I was getting information before it was reaching Florida about cancellations. I started talking to people in New York, Chicago, and they were definitely pretty pessimistic about the future. And but even with that, we were looking potentially at 6 to 8 months. I don't think anyone totally understood what this was in the beginning, which is kind of what made it so tough.
Sure.
But yeah, and here we are,
and
8 months later.
So tell us a little bit about how are you guys reintroducing now? I'm sure it was a big decision.
Oh, for sure. I mean, right away, everyone in our industry, this industry, they're really good at pivoting. You have a lot of professionals that look for problems in advance and try to find the solutions. So immediately we started working on our reopening guidelines and started figuring out how we were able to do that. Also, it took some time to understand the virus. And CDC rules have changed throughout month after month. So preparing for it was challenging. We knew right away that we were going to follow CDC guidelines. That was one of the main things we knew right from the start, is that you have to do that. And to follow CDC guidelines, there's some clear things that need to happen. And so we knew that we didn't really have the infrastructure in place to do that. We were outside at the amphitheater, so that was helpful. But we had to invest in the infrastructure, and that's just one of the very first things that you pay attention to. Is you definitely have to reduce contact the best way you can.
And it's already a small venue. Yeah, or an intimate venue, I should say.
We're 4,700, and so 4,700 is like a perfect size for St. Augustine. Actually, the population of St. Johns County isn't even large enough to support an amphitheater of that size. So we rely heavily on music tourism, and we see that. Over 50% of the people that come to the amphitheater are from out of town.
Great.
And so, but yeah, we've scaled down, and to follow the CDC guidelines, it brought us down to 36%. And what that means is that every related group, when you get a ticket, you and your friends or whoever that's in your circle, once you sit down in your seat, you will be 6 feet apart from anyone else. Okay. And that was something that we thought was extremely important to do. And but then also to reduce contact, everything changes. Right. Ingress, well, in the past, we used to have a security wand, like metal detectors, but now we're going to have walk-in metal detectors.
Okay.
I used to have a printed ticket, but because you could pass that printed ticket to someone that's not in your related group, we had to stop that. So everything's digital. You will be scanning your own ticket. It's all hands-free.
Great.
We have temperature reads. And temperature reads, it's been a controversial thing in our industry because, we deal with entertainment attorneys and everyone has talked about temperature reads. But for us, if there's anything that allows us to capture or understand that there could be a higher risk person coming into the amphitheater, it's worth doing.
Right.
And we don't have the traditional temperature reads that, you hold it up to your head. It's actually, we can scan over 100 people at once.
Really?
And it will register who has a high temperature. It will take a picture of that person, and we will be able to go and grab that person quietly. And even that, people sometimes run hot. And if you're outside, the temperature is not regulated. So there's a way that you have to regulate the temperature and make sure that you're really getting a good grasp of it. But we have the infrastructure in place. All of our bathrooms are moving to hands-free fixtures, but just moving to 36% capacity is just going to leave a lot of room.
How does that impact your food and beverage sales?
Actually, it's interesting because when you work in an industry like ours, you measure food and beverage based off of point-of-sale locations to people. And so the amphitheater, it's in the woods. It was an amphitheater built in 1960. So we've always tried to figure out how we can improve our ratio of point-of-sale locations. So now it's going to be great. There's 1,700 people, and you have the same amount of point-of-sale locations. But we're going to need it anyway because we need the lines to be more distant, from each other. And we feel really good about everything that we've done moving forward. We feel confident. We're prepared. We're ready. It took all the way to this point, but also it's a partnership when you have an artist come in. It's the integrity of our amphitheater and our community, but it's also their integrity as well. And that's one of the reasons why we chose to have JJ and Mofro, because I have a personal relationship with, we kind of came up together. The studio in which he's recorded all of his music is a studio that I grew up at, since I was a child. So there was a connection there, and he trusts us, and we trust him. And also, our entire community has been cooped up for 8 months. And live music has just been paused everywhere.
Right.
And JJ has a huge local following. And so because of that, we thought it was the perfect show. To bring back and kind of get the locals out and set the benchmark of how to do it the right way.
Have tickets gone on sale?
Yes.
Okay.
They went on sale a couple weeks ago. Saturday is completely sold out. There's not a single ticket left. Friday, there are a couple seats, but they're going fast.
That's a great sign. So people are ready to come out with their masks, observing social distancing, CDC guidelines. And 100%. Of course, your staff has been trained to
100%
monitor, make sure keeping everybody on the straight and narrow.
And you have to bring in additional support. You have to have medical professionals there. So we're not pros when it comes to understanding what to look for with the virus. We just provide the tools for the medical professionals, and they make the decisions.
Excellent. You're listening to The Break Room. If you're just now tuning in, I'm Melissa Whistle, Communications Director for the City of St. Augustine. Today in studio, I have the pleasure of talking with Gabe Pellicer, General Manager for the Amphitheater and Ponte Vedra Concert Hall. We're talking about the upcoming new first show of the post-COVID or in the middle of COVID kickoff of reopening JoJo and Mofro coming on
January 15th,
January
16th.
Great way to kick off the new year. Gabe, the AMP has so many other cool things that go on, and I know a lot of that also had to be suspended. Farmers market, night market came back?
Yeah, well, the farmers market is back. It was the same time. All of us stopped, including the market. But it ended up being in the summer. And what we look at with our market is that we really want it to be community focused. We offer the SNAP program. It's a produce first market, and given the amount of uncertainty with the virus, plus it's in the summer and you've already had that spring harvest. So summer it gets a little, you don't have a crop.
Right.
And so we wanted to make sure we had a good feel for when to bring that back. And it made sense. anytime that we make a decision at the amphitheater, we look at three things right off the start. One, will the event be safe? Two, will it be a positive experience for the patron or for the vendor or artist? And the third, will it create some sort of economic impact? We also care about it being sustainable, but the farmers market, being in the middle of the summer, understanding the uncertainty with the pandemic, and it just not having the crop, the produce that you really want to provide, we felt it was best to wait till the fall. And it's been unbelievable. We've widened the lanes. All the vendors are wearing masks. You're seeing a lot of the patrons are wearing masks. And I mean, there's been a very, very warm welcoming from the community for the market.
In case people didn't realize this, because I'm not sure that all folks know, the amphitheater is a county venue.
Yeah.
It is not a private entity.
It's actually, it's such a bizarre situation because I'm a county employee. The amphitheater is actually on state land property. So, and we are under the city's jurisdiction.
Correct, right. You're in the city limits.
And so, yeah, anytime that you have a fire marshal come, we don't know what fire marshal is going to come. Is it going to be the state, the county, or the city? It's a really interesting spot, but it's been working. It's been working really well. The setting is just perfect.
It's a beautiful facility. You guys always have great shows. The front porch, explain to me how the front porch works. Is that actually also used sometimes for separate events?
It's used during the farmers market for the night market. We do shows there. If there are certain shows that just fit it perfectly, we'll have a show up there. And so right now we haven't looked to program it because we offer a lot of it. It's general admission, and general admission's kind of tough. But we're going to use it. We're using it for the farmers market, and as we start to bring back the night market, we'll definitely have the front porch.
Well, it's great to know that the AMP is coming back, that the concert hall is going to start seeing shows as well. But before we go, last question, we've got to talk about this. What is your favorite? Who has been your favorite concert producer, or that you've produced or been a part of?
Yeah. So I grew up here.
Right.
So when I got in this, my mom and dad are musicians, so you kind of have these like dream situations, and I thought working on the Gentlemen of the Road tour was fun. I mean, to be able to put it at Francis Field, and there's been a lot of stuff at Francis Field, but I think the most rewarding was the 450th, just because, I mean, I've always wanted to be able to put a concert right in the street. I mean, it's just a perfect setting, and we were able to do that. So I thought that the 450th was probably the most rewarding. And at the amphitheater, as far as a concert that I've been able to watch, I would say Chris Stapleton was a great concert. He just knew how to own the room. It was early in his career. He was probably an arena act at the time that he played us, and that was one that I got to see. I don't really get a chance to see a lot of the shows because I'm working them. But yeah, that's the one that stands out. What about you?
Oh, I'll admit I was not always a big concert goer. I have a group of friends that we get together and we have actually traveled to concerts. I would have to say at the amphitheater, my favorite would have to be somewhere between Dan and Shay and Old Dominion. Great Old Dominion. We were so impressed with their, had no idea how many songs they had written for other artists, and they kind of took a break out of their show and came up, sat right in front, and did a little jam session of all the songs that, hey, you might know this one and you might know this one. That one was really cool. And Dan and Shay put on a great show.
And great people.
Great.
Just honest, exactly what you see on stage. That's who they are.
Well, we're impressed with the acts that you all bring to share with our community. We're looking forward to getting back into action and following the guidelines, doing what we all need to do to be safe, and give our regards to the county. We're glad that you guys are able to open up for us.
Thank you.
And Gabe, thanks so much for coming by and seeing us. We'll have you back. It's been a pleasure chatting.
Yeah, anytime.
As we wrap up another edition of The Break Room, I hope we answered your questions. If we didn't, take a minute to drop an email and send it to info@citysanog.com. Let me know if we missed anything or if there's someone you would like to hear from. We want to keep you informed about what's happening in and around the city, and most importantly, that you hear it here from the people doing the work and making it happen every day. In order to stay connected, you need to be connected. So be sure to like us and follow us on any of our social media platforms. You'll find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram @CitySanog. Until next time, thanks for tuning in.
You've been listening to The Break Room, a weekly program addressing projects and programs offered by the City of St. Augustine. Join us each week as the city's communications director, Melissa Whistle, has in-depth conversations with the people who make our town work to meet the needs of our community. The Break Room is produced by communications specialist for the City of St. Augustine, Cindy Walker, and engineered by Flagler College communication major, Lily McNeil. See you at this time next week for another edition of The Break Room.